And then we start fighting each other. So gross. I don't know why they don't do it in their bathroom. Lots of phlegm noises. Most people eat really loudly. You don't just get to reserve a sunbed. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I feel like I haven't done a sit down video like this in such a long time, so it feels good to be back. And today I thought we could discuss some Singapore versus UK differences again. I think you guys seem to enjoy these kinds of videos, and I wanted to talk about British habits that could be considered rude in Singapore and Singapore habits that could be considered rude in the UK. I just love observing the differences, like cultural differences. Just before we get started, this is a light-hearted space. None of what I'm going to mention is meant to cause offense, so please don't take what I say seriously. I'm just purely observing cultural differences, and it doesn't mean that there's a right or wrong. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Be sure to leave your comments down below as always. If you're maybe British living in Singapore or you're Singaporean living in the UK, please do leave your comments below. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Okay, so I think a British habit that I absolutely know would be considered rude in Singapore now is wearing shoes in the house. I know I've spoken about this a few times, but when I first moved to Singapore, I would see shoes outside of apartments all the time and be like, why is everyone taking their shoes off outside the house? Like, why would you want to leave your shoes outside your house? Because in the UK, that just wouldn't happen. Like, we would always bring our shoes into the house to take them off. And sometimes we would wear shoes in the house. But the difference between the UK and Singapore is that in the UK, a lot of the time we have carpeted floors, so it'll be carpet. And it's really gross to wear shoes on a carpet, in my opinion. But if you had like laminated flooring or tiles, you could get away with wearing your shoes inside. But in Singapore, it's just considered to be like not only bad manners, but really unhygienic as well, because you're like bringing your gross dirty shoes into the home and it's not seen as hygienic at all. So now all of my shoes are literally outside the front of my door, like everyone does in Singapore, and your habits just change. I don't know, but yeah, that's now the new norm. And if you come to Singapore and you're British, just make sure you always take your shoes off before you enter someone's home. And if you're Singaporean going to the UK, you might not have to take your shoes off. It really depends. Like, I think it's always polite to take your shoes off when you enter someone's home, but some people, like some Brits, just won't mind. So I don't know. Another thing I've thought about in hindsight is the habit of spitting chewing gum out in the UK, which is so gross to me. And I don't know how many of you guys have been to the UK, but if you go, make sure you pay attention to our pavement. Basically, there's like all these dots and marks and stains on pretty much every pavement you'll walk on in the UK. Every little piece of mark is chewing gum that has been spat out, which, when I think about it, it is so crazy to me that that is even a thing, and so gross. Like, in Singapore, chewing gum is actually banned, so we aren't able to buy it here. And I think one of the first things I noticed when I moved here was how clean the like pavements are here, and they're just like spotless and so well maintained. And then you look at the ones in the UK and you're like, oh my god, that's chewing gum. That is so gross. So the habit of spitting out chewing gum on the floor, really gross. It's quite common in the UK that you probably will get chewing gum on you at some point. It's really gross. Like, you'll probably step in it. If you go on the bus, you might accidentally sit on chewing gum. There's always chewing gum stuck underneath school tables. Like, if you go into a classroom, you check underneath the school tables, there's probably loads of like hardened chewing gum. Like, it is actually disgusting when I think about it. Like, us Brits have a real chewing gum issue. Why are we so obsessed with chewing gum? So just before we continue, I know I get a lot of questions from you guys about what VPN service I use, and today's video is kindly sponsored by Surfshark. So a VPN is a virtual private network which you can actually install onto all of your devices, and it allows you to access content and news from all different countries, as well as protecting your work, so online privacy and security, which I absolutely love it for. So if you're working remotely, maybe in coffee shops or public workspaces, then you can use a VPN to make sure that your work and private information is protected, which is incredibly important. I personally love using Surfshark VPN for accessing home content, so you can get access to things like US Netflix, BBC iPlayer. I can catch up on all my favorite TV shows from back home. I am currently obsessed with First Dates Teens. which I watch on 4OD. It's a UK TV show. If you guys haven't caught it already, you really should. So you only need one subscription, which allows you to install and run Surfshark on a unlimited number of devices. And they also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you guys want to trial it and see how you get on. And I also have a promo code here. If you use the code GeorgiaCaney, you can actually get 83% off of your plan, and you get an extra 3 months for free as well. So hope you guys enjoy. Do go click the link down below in the description box, and let's continue. Something in Singapore that I noticed that they do here, which I absolutely love and think that it's so polite, is when you go into a restaurant sometimes, instead of you having to put your handbag down on the floor next to you, they will provide an extra chair just specifically for you to put your handbag on, so that it's off of the floor. And I just think that is so sweet and considerate. And I guess it's, again, it comes into the whole hygiene thing, like they don't want you to put your belongings on the floor. Sometimes they even provide you with like this little basket for you to put your handbags in and your belongings in, which I think is so sweet. Something that we definitely don't have in the UK. But I think we should definitely adopt it. Another funny thing in the UK that we do that would probably be considered rude here in Singapore. I mean, not everyone does this. I know that not every Brit will do this, but sometimes if you get the train in the UK and you really don't want someone to sit next to you, you will put your handbag next to the chair next to you. So it's kind of like you're making it clear that you don't really want anyone to come and sit next to you. Sometimes this is obviously avoidable, and if the train's busy, someone will come on and be like, can I sit there please? But I think generally a lot of people kind of, I think women in particular, we make it clear that we don't necessarily want anyone to sit next to us, so we'll put our handbag on the chair next to us in hopes that maybe no one will steal that seat. Pretty selfish, but I feel like it's kind of similar to choping. I know you guys had your opinions on choping. Lots of you were for and against choping, that we reserve seats with like umbrellas or tissue packets, especially at hawker centres. Are you for or against choping? Let me know in the comments down below. I know if we did that in the UK, it just would not be a thing. They'd be like, absolutely not, like you don't get to reserve a table before you've even sat there. It would definitely be considered like bad manners and rude. I just don't think that the like Brits would even take it seriously. But in Singapore, it's like an unwritten rule that you can do that. But I thought of something really funny that Brits do that's quite similar. I've told you guys before that Brits love the sunshine. We worship the sunshine when it comes out because we are so sun deprived in the UK. So if we go on a summer holiday, something Brits notoriously do is we will get up really early in the morning, and maybe even the night before, and get us beach towel, and we will go to the hotel pool and reserve a sunbed with our towel. We will lay our towel out and make it very clear that this sunbed is taken and no one can use it. I feel like that's like a very kiasu like mentality as well. Maybe just this is just humans in general. Maybe humans are just a bit selfish, but it's something that we do. And I just thought about it and I was like, oh my god, we're quite similar that we do that as well. And it does annoy a lot of people. It's like, you weren't here first, you don't just get to reserve a sunbed. Let's talk about brutal honesty. I know I've touched on this a while ago. I think there's a lot of brutal honesty in Singapore that would be considered rude in the UK. Like there's things that have been said to me here in real life that if you said it in the UK, I think it would be quite shocking. Because I think in the UK we're kind of taught to keep things to yourself. Like you kind of know there's a level of what you can and can't say to people that you maybe don't know very well. But in Singapore, quite a few times I've had comments, like even if they're just like things about my appearance or my weight, or yeah, things that you would normally probably keep to yourself and you wouldn't say to someone because you know it could hurt their feelings. In Singapore, there's not always that filter there. So I've experienced this quite a few times, and yeah, there's definitely a cultural difference there between like thinking before you speak, thinking if what I'm gonna say is gonna hurt someone's feelings or offend them. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're easily offended, la la la. It's like, I get that, but I think when you're talking about someone's appearance, if it's like unsolicited advice about someone's appearance, or if it's definitely something that they can't change, then it's just kind of best to keep it to yourself because you don't know how it's going to affect that person. So yeah, if you guys have experienced this, let me know down below. I also had some comments saying that they thought Brits were brutally honest as well, which I found really interesting. So again, do share your experiences down below. Eating loudly. Now, this is something that definitely shocked me when I first moved here, because I think in the UK, like, we're just taught growing up that you should, like, I don't know, if you're at the dinner table with your family, they'd always be like, eat with your mouth closed, like, you're making too much noise, like, eat quietly. Like, we were taught that it was basic manners to eat with your mouth closed. So the cultural differences really show when you come to Singapore, because most people eat really loudly. You can always hear people eating. They usually eat with their mouth open, which I find so interesting. I have a friend in particular who I always tease because she eats so loudly. Yeah, I don't know, it's really unusual for me to hear people eating loudly and not be picked up on for the fact that they are. Does that make sense? Again, I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong. I don't think there is at all. I know some of you said that you hate the eating loudly noises here and you think it's rude. So maybe there's a new wave of, like, generation who are now thinking that it's impolite. I don't know. I'm always curious to hear your opinions. Please let me know. On the same kind of topic, there's also lots of noises in Singapore that are made, like lots of phlegm noises and grunting, and this is something I really noticed when I was started to get taxis here, and I noticed a lot of the drivers were making like these unusual noises. I think in the UK, if we were making those kind of noises in public, we'd probably be like looked at weirdly or judged for it. I don't know why that is. But in Singapore, there's not really any filter. They'll make as many like crazy noises and phlegm sounds as they like. So yeah, polite, impolite, I don't know. Another really funny one is there's a lot of nail clipping that happens in public in Singapore, and I'm not really sure what the reason, like, I'm not really sure why. You can walk down the street and all of a sudden you see someone like clipping their toenails. It's usually like aunties and uncles that are clipping their nails in public. And I just don't know, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just an older generation thing again, like, I really don't know, but I remember sitting on my balcony once and all I heard was this nail clipping sound, and it just becomes a very common sound in Singapore, the sound of people clipping their nails. I don't know why they don't do it in their bathroom. I don't know why they do it on the streets. Maybe you guys can let me know, but I guess if we did that in the UK, it would be kind of strange. It would probably be a strange thing to do in public, but here it's just very normal, and it's what they do. Something else here that probably would be considered rude if you didn't do it in the UK is that I don't feel like many people in Singapore hold the door open for you. A lot of the times doors have been kind of slammed into my face and I'm like, oh, thanks for holding the door for me. It's not really much of like a common courtesy in Singapore to hold the door for ladies. I don't know, if you do hold the door, I think it's excellent. Like, I think it's very polite to hold the door for people regardless of their sex. I think it's just a nice thing to do. But something I will say that Singaporean guys seem to do, which I love, Singaporean guys tend to carry their girlfriends or their friends bags for them in public, which I just think is so sweet. So like, my photographer does it for me. If we go shoot, he'll like get my handbag and put it on his shoulder. Hi T Lin, if you're watching. And he'll carry it around for me, and I just think that's so sweet. And I asked him, I said, where do you guys like get taught to do this? Men in the UK definitely wouldn't do that. They definitely wouldn't hold their friends or their girlfriends' handbags for them. So it's something that I really appreciate, and I don't know, I just think it's really sweet and courteous and gentlemanlike. One more terrible British habit that would definitely be considered rude and gross in Singapore is Brits, we can't seem to handle our alcohol for some very strange reason. We are liabilities when it comes to alcohol, especially late at night. The UK streets will be kind of littered with the drunk teenagers falling over, vomiting in the streets, blacked out drunk. I don't know what our problem is. Like, we seem to have a very bad relationship with alcohol. I know that obviously sometimes will happen in Singapore, but probably for the fact that healthcare is so, you have to pay for healthcare here. So in the UK you don't. Maybe people think that they could take advantage more of like our NHS, and that they don't have to pay for healthcare no matter how much how much they drink or how drunk they get. Whereas in Singapore, it doesn't seem to be as much of a thing where people are like blacked out, like getting their stomach pumped or whatever else. I think it's a really rude habit. Like I was listening to a podcast this morning and this American guy was talking about the fact that Brits are really polite until they start drinking, and then we start fighting each other, and I don't know what our problem is, but yeah, definitely a terrible British habit that doesn't seem to be as much of a problem here in Singapore. Like I would say drinking culture here is much more like laid back, and people seem to be a lot more well behaved in general. Okay, so one final point is personal space. In Singapore, personal space doesn't seem to be much of an emphasis on giving people personal space. In the UK, there is, and I don't know why, I don't know how that came about, but I feel like if you don't give someone personal space in the UK, it's just considered quite rude, and someone will probably end up shouting at you. And I touched on this before, but I remember a time in the UK, I was queuing at the cash machine behind a woman. I remember her turning around to me and being like, do you need to be any closer? And I was like, oh my God, sorry, I didn't realize I was standing so close. So there's just an example. If you stand too close to someone, you're probably gonna get their back up and they're not gonna like it. But in Singapore, people, I've had many instances where people were almost like standing on top of me for no reason at all, when there's loads of space, but for some reason they want to get real close to me, especially when I'm like queuing to pay for things. And I personally don't like it. Like I like having a little bit of space around me, and I have had to say to people a few times, like, do you mind just stepping back a bit? Like you don't need to be that close to me. Because when I say like on top of me, I mean like pretty much standing on top of me, and I don't know why that is. If you guys know the answer, please do let me know. Again, there's no right or wrong. I think it completely depends on the person. Some people will care, some people won't. If you did it in the UK, you'd probably get shouted at. If you do it in Singapore, probably no one's gonna bat an eyelid. So I think it's a really interesting difference. Okay guys, I think I'm gonna wrap the video up there. I hope you enjoyed hearing my observations. As always, do give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It always helps me out. It really helps my videos to be seen. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more from me. As always, you can go find me on Instagram at The Vintage Vision. You can go give me a follow over there if you would like to. Thank you guys for watching so much as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.